George, the normalization of this violence that Mara and Willie were talking about, the convenient lies that can circulate on the internet to try and deflect from the horror of what has happened and leads to people being led to laugh in cruelty when Kari Lake makes fun of 82-year-old Paul Pelosi having his head bashed in with a hammer, a skull fracture, and surgery. People laugh. Just take a moment and take that in. What a sick, sick place we're at right now in this country. That would happen. That moment is sickening. And yet there's no recourse, George. There's no guardrails.
Look, I mean, there is a direct link, as you just pointed out a minute ago, between the kind of rhetoric that led to January 6th and the kind of rhetoric that led to the incident at the Pelosi home. I'll give you an example. In the arrest affidavit filed yesterday by the FBI, he told the FBI that he didn't leave after the 911 call because, much like the American founding fathers with the British, he was fighting against tyranny without the option of surrender. I mean, that harkens back to the tweet that Lauren Boebert, a member of Congress, sent out at 8:30 a.m. on the 6th of January, 2021, where she said, "Today is 1776. It's the same thing. Where's Nancy? It's the same thing. It's the entire ecosystem that promotes violence, that promotes violent words, and then now both promotes it and also other people who just let it slide. We've heard so much silence from Republicans, which is just as bad as some of the rhetoric.
So, Gene Robinson, there seems to be a confluence of two disturbing trends right now. The post-January 6th normalization of violence in our political discourse. We've talked on the show for a long time about how law enforcement officers, political government agencies now believe and are deeply worried about how violence has become part of the acceptable political rhetoric post-January 6th. That's number one. And number two, how the governing ethos for so many Republicans is simply own the libs. It's about whatever it is to score a moment, to score a point on Twitter or on Instagram, whatever it might be, and there's no attempt at all to show even any common decency. It's all about, even in this case, when an 82-year-old grandfather is in critical condition with a fractured skull, it's about owning the libs. Is this party too far gone to be saved?
It appears to be too far gone to be saved. I don't know what would save it. I mean, first let's all send our best wishes and our prayers to Paul Pelosi, an 82-year-old man who was savagely beaten with a hammer by a man who was impelled by this rhetoric. It's not just the normalization of cruelty and violence. It's that the cruelty and violence now are the whole point. That's the whole point of the Republican Party now, and that is a crazy thing to say, but it's true. That's the way Republican officials are communicating with their base and motivating their base. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know that we've ever been in a place like this, except in the years, in maybe the 1850s. I mean, and now we have to start using that as a historical antecedent, because certainly nothing since. We've seen absolutely nothing like this, and this is one of our two major parties that has gone so off the rails and has become just such a clear and present danger. It is. I don't know how we get off this ledge. I don't know how we get back from this. I know how we should. Republicans, responsible Republicans, ought to be speaking out. They ought to be standing with Democrats and all members of Congress at a moment like this, when the husband of the Speaker of the House was savagely attacked. There should be a prayer service. There should be a unity empathy and compassion. And what there is owning the libs, but owning the libs in this cruel, violent way that is essentially the whole point of Republican communication these days. It is so dangerous.
To Gene's